I recently made a card with lots of ink blending and I really like how it turned out. So today I'm going to recreate it as a tag. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I have a tag to share with you adding colour with ink blending. So let's get started. This is the card that inspired my tag today. I really like how it turned out and I'm using the new Crafty Flower Garden Rose layering die set. This is such a pretty set and I love how easy it is to line up all of the layers. They've got kind of like a different shape in the inside and all of the layers are also numbered on the dies. So it's really quick and easy to be able to layer them up and know exactly where they're going to go. So I'm just going to use the one rose today on my card. I did create two, but I'm just going to do one for the tag just because it's a smaller size. So I have cut my pieces here from Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound cardstock. There is actually 5 layers to this rose, but I left one of them off when I made the card and I didn't particularly find that I missed it too much, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing, but do know that there is an extra layer. So I'm starting off by adding colour with ink blending and the Glacier Caves Crisp Dye Ink set. And I'm just adding a very light layer of my lightest shade, which is Caribbean Sky. I'm then going to go in with Persian Blue. And I'm just concentrating this colour towards the centre of the petals. I want the outside edges to be quite light, which is why I went over it very lightly initially with the lightest shade. But I'm not quite getting the saturation of colour that I wanted. I could continue with the same small ink blending tool that I used, but it's just going to be a lot quicker if I go in with the mini blending brush. The bristles on this brush, because they are shorter, they're more dense and so you get more of a vibrancy and more of a saturation of colour. So I'm going in here and just adding all of that Persian blue to the petals, and then I'm going to go in with my darkest shade, which is Sapphire, and I'm going to use that same mini blending tool, and you can see here that it really does add quite a lot of darkness to the centre of those petals. Once I've finished off with the petals, I'm going to go in and add some ink blending to the leaves. And for these, I'm using the Green Valley Crisp Dye Ink Mini Cube set. And I'm using 2 of the lighter shades, Firefly and Grass Field. And then for the centre of the flower, I'm using Full Harvest Crisp Dye Ink cubes, and I'm going in with Butternut and Pumpkin Pie. So I just need the 2 shades because even with the leaves, they're quite small and you're not going to see a huge amount of them when they're popped behind the flower. So here I'm going to add some 2-in-1 precision glue pen to the back of these petal pieces, and then as you can see in the middle of the petals there is what looks like a keyhole cut out of them, and I can line each one up on top of each other and make sure that that shape in the middle stays the same. So it's really easy to line them all up. I do tend to just lay it on top of each other first without adding the glue so that I can see how much glue I actually want to add. Because I'm lining these up before adding it onto my project, I don't want too much glue sort of squidging out of the sides. And then this piece here just kind of lines up on the side. It makes it look like the petal is kind of folded up on itself. And that extra piece that I'm not adding kind of fits behind that. But I thought that this was fine just with this one piece. And I'm just figuring out where my centre is going to be. I didn't know if it was going to overlap this petal, but it's not. So I can just add some more glue onto the back of this petal and pop that on top. You could definitely add all of these layers with foam tape, but once you add all the layers, even flat with glue, they do actually create quite a lot of dimension just purely having all of the layers of cardstock on top of each other. And I just love how they look. I just think they look so pretty. So I can just pop the center of that flower inside, and I'm just using tweezers here just to help me out with the placement. I've then cut 2 tags from the Terrific Tags die set, and one is going to be for the back of the tag, but the first one here I'm going to add some more ink blending on top. I'm bringing in my flower here so that I can see where I want it to go, and I want to add some yellow ink sort of above and below where the flower is going to be, kind of popping out on each side. So I can really be quite messy with this ink blending because the bit in the center is going to get covered up by that flower. So I'm using Golden Sunset Crisp dye inks for this, and I'm using Sunray and Snapdragon. So at this point I thought that I was finished with the ink blending. I do actually end up adding some more. Ideally, before I added the tag to the back with the glue tape, I would have added all of the ink blending because I want to make sure that that tag at the back is really nice and clean, and that's tend to be why I sort of add it. But I realized at this point when I added the flower on top that there just wasn't enough vibrancy of that yellow kind of peeking through, so I'm going back in with the Snapdragon colour and just adding a little bit more saturation on top. In the end I could have gone even further and added it to be a little bit darker, but I still like how it turned out. It just wasn't as vibrant as my card. So I'm now going to work on the sentiment, and I've taken the sentiment from the Bold Sentiment stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that down onto some white cardstock. I'm going to ink it up with Obsidian Pigment Ink. This is a beautiful dark black ink that stamps really nice and crisp. So I'm just making sure that that's inked up really well, and then I can stamp that down. And because I'm using the Misty, I can stamp it as many times as I want. I am going to re-stamp it, although it's stamped quite nice to start with. I am just going to re-stamp it so that I get that really nice dark impression. Because this is pigment ink, it is going to take a little while to dry, so I do set that aside to dry before I cut it down into a strip. Here I've got my tag, and I can add the leaves on first with some more of that 2-in-1 precision glue pen, and I'm just using the flower as a guide so that I can see where I want the leaves to be adhered first. Again, using those tweezers just to help me out, pop that underneath the flower. And I'm making sure not to add the glue all the way to the edge of those leaves because they are going to overhang the sides of that tag. I wanted the flower to be popped up, so I'm using some instant dimension foam tape and adding small pieces, of that onto the back of the flower. And then I can just remove the backings off of that foam tape with the tweezers. And then I can pop that down onto the tag. And then once I'm happy with the placement, I can press that down. I've then got my sentiment that I cut into a strip, and I'm adding some more foam tape onto the back of it. And then I can pop that down onto the tag as well. And I'm just overlapping with the bottom of that flower. I'm then adding some twine through the top of the tag. So just adding it through and then securing that at the top. And then I'm going to tie that in a bow. I really love having blue roses. I know that they're not the normal, but do let me know in the comments what you think of roses in different colours. I do quite often gravitate towards pink, but I absolutely love blue roses, even though they're not kind of natural in nature. So to finish off, I'm just going to add some essential black and white enamel dots. I'm just using the white ones here. And just adding a few of those around the rose. And I like to add embellishments in odd numbers, so I've got this extra one here and I'm trying to figure out where exactly I want to place it. In the end, I go with the bottom right hand corner. And so that's the tag finished for today. I really like all of that dimension on the tag and the different ink blending. So here's the card that originally inspired the design of the tag. The card is definitely more vibrant, with the tag being a little bit more subtle, but I do like how they both turned out. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.